right, I'm back. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make some apple pie filling and then how to properly can and preserve it so that when the holiday times come around and you got to bang out a bunch of apple pies, you already got what you need ready to go. This comes from the Amish, honey.
Whipping up all of your favorite recipes. Simply Food.
You should know by now that you're in for a treat.
Simply Food.
There's no other channel where you'd rather be.
Simply Food. Seafood, pasta, cakes, and pies. Sing and laugh and even cry. Like and share and hit subscribe. Simply Food by TY.
All right, y'all, so let's get into the ingredients. So I have about 6 pounds of some Granny Smith apples. I have about 8 pounds of Cosmic Crisp apples and 8 pounds of Honeycrisp apples. We are also going to need 1 cup of brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, clear gel, make sure it says cook type, and 5 cups of granulated white sugar. And you're also going to need 64 ounces or 8 cups, however you want to look at it, at 100% apple juice, no added ingredients, 100% apple juice, and then bottled lemon juice. You want to use the bottled stuff because it's more concentrated. I would not advise you to use fresh lemon juice. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to be peeling my apples. I'm just going to show you one because I have a long ways to go. But just know over on the side off camera, I have a large bowl full of ice cold water that I've added in 1/4 of a cup of lemon juice so that I don't have to worry about my apples turning colors. Literally all I do is just stick my apples directly on this machine here, give this a spin, and this is going to peel and core my apples and also slice it so that I'm able to speed up this entire process. And just that simple and just that quick, I was able to get my apples all done, leaves the core behind. This is perfect. And then I like to take my knife and I cut mine into 4s. And then I'm just gonna add these directly to my bowl of lemon juice. So I'm gonna repeat that process for all of my apples and I'll see you guys in a moment. Alrighty, you guys, so now that I have all of my apples prepped, it took, a little bit of time, but they're all done. Like I said, they are resting in a bin full of cold water with about 1/4 of a cup of lemon juice, and that's just to kind of help them not completely turn brown. But I do want to show you this setup because it's important to make sure that you have everything ready to go. So in this pot here, I have this filled about halfway with water. I'm bringing that up to a boil. I'm going to be partially boiling these apples here for 1 minute. I'm probably going to have to do it in, small batches because I do not want to overcook them. So I don't want to put them all in there at one time. You want to make sure that you have yourself a large bowl because as you take those hot apples out, you're going to place them in a bowl and then cover them up with a towel so that we can keep them nice and warm. While all of that is taking place, I have my water bath canner over here with my quart-sized jars already filled up with water on the lowest setting so that those can stay nice and hot and also get sterilized at the same time. Because we are going to be hot packing these apples, it's important to make sure that the jars themselves are nice and warm so that we don't have to worry about anything cracking. And just to show you inside of this water bath canner, because I'm doing quarts, and when you use the rack that comes with it, it kind of limits how much space you actually have. So I've taken out the rack and I have lined the bottom of this with some kitchen towels. That way the jars are not touching the bottom so you don't have to worry about them cracking. So that way I was able to get 7 quart-sized jars in here sterilized because I don't know how many I'm going to need just yet because this is my first time doing this. And I would rather have more than enough jars sterilized than not have enough. So that's the reason why I did it that way. And this also is just a reminder that you can use any pot that you have to water bath can. As long as you can fill up the pot at least 2 inches above the jar and you put a towel at the bottom or some sort of man-made rack, you can water bath can in any type of pot that you have. All right, you guys, so now that my water is starting to come up to a boil, like I said, I'm going to gradually go in and start parboiling these apples. Once I put them in, I'm going to let this water come up to a rolling boil, and then I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute. Do not do it for any longer than 1 minute. After that, you're just going to take them back out of the boiling water and then put them in the bowl, that we talked about earlier, and just set that to the side and make sure you keep them covered with a towel. All right, y'all, so I'm finishing up the last of my apples. Like I said, make sure that you keep them covered up with the towel. So I'm going to get the last bit of these apples out and then we can go ahead and move on to the next step. Alrighty, so now in a clean pot, you're gonna add in 8 cups of apple juice, your 1 cup of brown sugar, your 5 cups of white granulated sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. Optional, but I think that it is a crucial ingredient to making a fabulous apple pie. 1/8 of a teaspoon of allspice and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. And you're also now going to add in 2 cups of the clear gel. Go on ahead and turn your heat on, and now we are going to begin cooking this. You want to make sure that the heat is on a medium and do not stop stirring at any point during this cooking process. Just remember that it is not going to take long for this to thicken up, so it's extremely important to make sure that you are mixing the entire time and keeping an eye on your temperature. And I just wanted to point out, you're going to notice as you continue to mix this, there's going to start to be some resistance. That's that clear gel starting to activate because it's going to start getting really thick. This is also the reason why it's extremely important to make sure that you are mixing the entire time so that nothing sticks to the bottom and burns. Do not rush this process. Allow it to do its thing. It will thicken up. You're also going to start to see little lumps forming. That's that gel activating, so don't be alarmed by that. That's exactly what you want to see. That's actually a good sign. Those little lumps that you see kind of floating around in there, that's all good signs. All right, y'all, and just that quick, it literally turns into that gel consistency. So now I'm going to add in my lemon juice and set a timer for 1 minute. Alrighty, you guys, so I've gone in and added in that lemon juice, and as you can see, now we are at the perfect consistency. Do not stop mixing, you guys. I just wanted you guys to be able to see this is what it's looking like now. I've actually removed it from the heat, and I'm now going to add all of the apples to the pot. And like I said, to avoid any potential burning, I've removed it from the heat, and I'm gradually adding in my apples, making sure that I'm using a strainer because I'm trying to avoid adding in too much of the liquid. And I'm actually going to give this a good mix before I add in all of these apples, just so that it's not going to be as difficult to add them in, you know, because I feel like if I try to add in all these apples at one time, that might be too much. And I also want to make sure that I have the perfect amount of like sauce to apples ratio. I don't want to add in too many apples. Look at that. That, my loves, is apple pie filling. And I just wanted you guys to see how many apples I actually have left over because I think that this is the perfect consistency. I don't want to add in any more apples. So these are all the apples that I have left over that I'm not going to add in. I'll find something to do with these later on. But this is a lot. And it looks and smells divine. The consistency is exactly what I want. So now let's go on ahead and jar it up. And as always, you guys know when I hot pack stuff, I do not like taking all of the jars out at one time. So I'm only going to be doing 2 at a time. And now I'm just going to put in all of that delicious pie filling. And I'm going to leave just a little more than an inch of headspace. From all of the research that I've done and have watched people do this and have had a lot of fails when making this, it's because they did not leave enough headspace. So I am going to make sure that I am leaving myself more than enough headspace. The other thing that I noticed that a lot of people were struggling with is they weren't debubbling. And because these apples are sliced the way they are, that just leaves a lot of room for error, especially with air pockets. And you don't want that because that's going to, number one, make it so that you don't have a proper seal. And it'll also cause the stuff to expand in areas where you don't want it to. So you definitely want to make sure that you take your time and really debubble this so that you don't have to worry about your seals not adhering properly. So let me just get this done really quick, and then I'm going to show you guys exactly how much space I left behind. And as always, try to avoid using anything metal when you are debubbling. You want to go in with like a toothpick or something like that. See, there's so many little air pockets in this, and you really want to take the time to really get this out. And while you're doing this, you could also be pushing down your apple pie filling so that you can really make sure that you got it down up in there appropriately. Get all those little air pockets out. And I left just enough space. So this is right at the neck of the jar. If you can see here, it's just about right there. This is really hot, but I'm leaving it just about where the neck of the jar is. And that's about what you want. So now I'm just going to finish debubbling all of these, clean off the outside with some vinegar because there's a lot of sugar we're dealing with here. So we don't want anything sticking because, again, any little bit of sugar on that rim can mess up your seal. And we did not go through all of this work for these jars to not properly seal, okay? Get yourself a little bit of vinegar, go around on that outside, really make sure that it is nice and clean. Then we're gonna put on our lids and then put on the rings fingertip tight. And then I'm gonna put this directly back into my water bath canner, and I'm gonna repeat this step until they are all done. And as always, remember, only put these on fingertip tight. Back into the water canner it goes. Now that I have all of my jars inside of my water bath canner, I'm gonna add in a little splash of water on the outside, place the lid on this, and allow this to come up to a rolling boil. At that point, I will then set a timer for 25 minutes. All right, you guys, so my 25-minute timer for this one is all done. So like I said, I'm just going to remove the lid and allow it to sit for about 5 or 10 minutes or so. That will allow the temperature of the jars to kind of just calm down just a little bit before you take them out so that you can avoid siphoning, any potential cracking. Major fluctuations of temperature can sometimes cause problems. So just allow it to sit in that hot water for about an additional 10 minutes. And as always, make sure that you're being extra careful when taking your jars out. And we're now going to leave this beautiful apple pie filling to sit and rest for a full 24 hours. Tomorrow when I come back, we will do the seal check, wash these bad boys down, put a label on it, and then that will be a wrap. All right, you guys, so it's the next morning. So now I'm gonna go in and I'm going to remove the rings. And now I'm going to begin doing my seal check. Now, 2 of these I can already tell are not sealed just by looking at it, which is this one right here. I can almost guarantee it. Yeah, see, that one's not sealed. See how that just popped right off? And this is the reason why I said it's important to make sure that you do not overfill your jars, because the second a little bit of that clear gel gets up underneath the seal, it's never going to adhere. So I'm not upset that that's not resealed. Now, if you wanted to, you could reprocess this, but honestly, if I have one more, I'm just gonna go on ahead and bake off a pie. But let's check the rest. No good. Bad seal. Okay, so we only lost 2. Now, I will also say it is extremely important to make sure that you wash these jars down because there's going to be so much sugar and syrup and you do not want to attract ants. So let me go clean these up. Alrighty, you guys, now that I've got my jars nicely washed down, I'm gonna go on ahead and put my labels on. And again, this is the reason why I was saying that it's really important to make sure that you pay attention to headspace. As you can see, they really expanded a lot. That clear gel will really expand. And so oftentimes people put too much in the jars, they get a little bit too overzealous, and then it overfills. And then again, as soon as that sugar gets underneath that seal, it will not seal. Now, to use these, if you're making a deep dish apple pie, you're going to need about 2 quarts. So it's actually perfect that I have 8 here because I have enough to make 4 homemade apple pies now. So now I'm just going to put these on the shelf and they are now shelf stable. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I hope you guys tried this recipe. And even if you don't want to can this, you can still make this recipe and just make an apple pie from scratch. Either way, it works and turns out absolutely wonderfully. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.